So I've been using Vim, and the more I use Vim, I guess, the more advanced features I learn from its manual, Hope. And the more I've used it, I more I realize that it's such an adequate tool or such an adequate backup tool for data wrangling. In case you don't know what data wrangling is, it's basically transforming one form of text to another. In this case, just for like an example that I'm gonna later give, transforming XML document to JSON. Or and well, there's also going to be two other examples. So why even Vim? Like why did I specifically mention backup tool? Well, for starters, Vim is always going to be there in a Unix operating system. Well, most Unix operating systems will include Vim. And once you just get started with Vim, once you get the syntax, like the Vim grammar down, you will realize how predictable Vim is. And it's basically just repetition of verbs, of operators plus motions. Um, and once you just apply, once you learn like the basics, you can just apply new concepts on top of another, just the basics on top of the basics, and everything just fits like I guess a lock and a key. So the first command I want to talk about is :normal. It is a command that basically allows you to execute commands like they are typed in normal mode. So in case you don't know what this means, I will be showing you in a live presentation. So here is a folder. Here's a text document called email.txt, and this is supposed to represent this following format. It's supposed to represent a name of a person in quotations, and it's supposed to represent an email. Just like that. I personally see this format a lot when I'm emailing people or getting their contact from Gmail. So I feel like this might be a useful example that I made up. In either case, what are we doing with this data? So basically, we have this format, but you don't really need the name of a person. In this case, all I want is their email. But we have a bunch of junk here. We have like this whole section where it's like a name surrounded by quotes, and we also have like this closing bracket and open bracket and closing bracket, and we just want their email. So what can we do? Very simply, I will use the : command, and the first thing is I will do normal or normal. Norm or normal are the same things. This is equivalent to normal, and I will do the exclamation mark. In this case, the exclamation mark means just tells them to use the default keybinds. It's default normal keybinds, or just actually any keybinds. Because sometimes you have in your vimrc, you might have defined other mappings, and in this case, you just want to get rid of those. So once you have this a normal exclamation mark or normal, and to shout it, let's just go explain. So the normal command takes and what you want to, I guess, execute. In this case, like if I press DD, it's gonna delete the whole line because it just executes the commands as they are typed. In this case, DD would just delete the whole line as if it were in normal mode. And the benefit is that basically I can create like a series of commands in command line mode that I know will operate on the line. So in this case, for this format, I am gonna have first. I'm gonna delete everything. I'm gonna delete. So we want to delete this section. I'm gonna delete everything up to the including the closing brackets. So we're gonna do delete delete until the first occurrence of the closing bracket. Once we have that, we aren't gonna go to the end of the line because there's still because we just want their email. We literally just want the email. So I'm gonna go to the end of the line with the $sign, and I'm gonna delete the closing bracket with an X, which just means delete the character under cursor. And once we do that, and I'm sure that it works by going 0, you can see that, hey, I got the format I wanted, which is just email. I did miss something. I think I will like to append a comma then. So there we go. It appended a comma. And instead of like randomly just deleting this, instead of just taking my time to go place my cursor, deleting like this whole thing, and then going to end, I did it in Vim with like, I don't know, 3, 6, 7, I guess, commands. Or yeah. And then, but this was just one line. So how would we even, like, we want to change this whole file. And how do you do that? Well, the thing is, the normal command also takes in a range. And the range we will define here is we want to do everything from the current line to the end of the file. And the way we do this is period, or which in this case represents the current line, followed by a comma, and then followed by a $sign. Here, in this case, the $sign means end of file, instead of the where we use it in the command, where that means end of line. So once we type this in, you can see that, hey, we operated on the whole file, and now we just have a bunch of emails. So that's an example of just Vim's normal command, and as you can see, it's pretty ludicrous because you can do so many things on, like, you can operate on so many lines in such an easy and fast fashion. As long as you know a general pattern, as long as you notice like what's going on in these lines, or you have a target goal. And there's a trend you're going to see in like the commands I'm going to show you, where as long as you see something, you can do a lot of powerful things. You can use like Vim's tools and just, I guess, like use them together and just have a wonderful output that would take you a long time otherwise. And also, like, one of the features of normal, like the normal command, is that even if you make a mistake, if you undo it, all the commands you ran are just going to be undone together. So you can try it out and see what works if you're unsure the pattern. So before we even move on to the second example, I do want to mention the global and subject command, which are, I think, very useful commands for data manipulation. And these are commands that take in a pattern, and given a pattern, they will do different things. For instance, for the global command, given a pattern, we will execute a command on lines that contain the pattern. For example, say I have, I don't know, hello, my name is something, and then we have like hello world, because I am not a creative person. And then for all the, I guess we're just going to do 2yy and then 100p, just to see like this actually works. So we have like a lot of lines now, right? So with the global command, we can do something like, for all the that's not that a thing. So for all the lines that contain the word hello, the word world, just delete them. And now we're only left with hello, my name is something. And yeah, so that is like an example of what you can do with the global command. And you can do some other more things. So like, for example, I think you can do something like with all the worlds here, move invalid address, move here. and that is actually like here. I think this is better. Move all the all the lines that contain the word hello to like the start of the file, which I think it's like you can see why it might be helpful. And also here we have the substitute command, which is going to pretty much going to be your search and replace command. So if you ever ever work with any modern, I guess, text editor, you know that you can probably search for a word and see like replace all or something like that. And with Vim you can also do that with substitute, and you do it like this. So here, if we want to replace name with hello my, instead of something, let's replace something. Carl. Hello, my name is Carl, and we can do it like that. And I think it's pretty beneficial to mention that both these commands take a range. So, for example, if for the global command, we can do something like only operate on the current line and up to line 10. So we can do something like name and then delete that, like I showed you, but it only operates on these like the first 10 lines, I guess. And this is like something useful because there's some times where you just want to operate on like subset of a file, and that's how you do it. So let's take a look at this example. Here I have a people.xml file, or people.xml document, and basically we're gonna operate on this file and turn every person tag into a JSON object. So in case you don't know what a JSON object is, it's basically a format to store data in a key value notation. And so for every person tag, we are going to be turning it into something like this, where name will be our key, and then the name of a person will be their value, and also email and then name of person. So that's what we're going to do. So the first thing is we want to get rid of this people tag, I guess, or parent root node, is that the terminology? So the first thing is we're going to use the global command to just search for the people, just for the pattern people, and then we will delete every line that contains people, because we don't really want that. In similar fashion, we want to turn every, I guess, open person tag into a curly brace, because that is what a JSON object looks like. So to do this, we are also going to use the person command, and we're just going to search for the literal tag, open tag, and going to use the command. In this case, instead of deleting the line, we're going to use substitute command, and substitute takes in the pattern. But in this case, we already defined the pattern in the global command. So what we can do is just do a double forward slash, and substitute will just take in the last pattern as its pattern. So now that we do this, we can just do open curly brace and then just forward slash. Run it, and here we go. We successfully converted all the open persons tags to a curly brace. In a similar fashion, we're also going to do this with the closing person tag. Instead, in this case, we are going to turn into a close curly brace. So once we run it, you can see that this document is starting to look more like a JSON object. But now we have this pattern, and this is not an easy. It doesn't look easy, but in fact, it is very easy to turn it into this format with Vim, at least. we are going to use, in this case, the substitute, and we're going to use %s, the percent standing for the whole buffer, and we are going to be searching for a pattern, the pattern being I guess the literal tag name. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but the thing is, when I keep saying pattern, and more specifically, it's searching for a regular expression pattern. That means that the substitute command can also take I guess, an actual whatever you expect with regular expressions. And one of the things that are most useful in regular expressions are capture groups. So we're going to be using capture group to basically just capture everything between the name tags. So in Vim, we can define, I guess, a capture group by doing backslash and a open parentheses, and we want to just search for every character and repeatedly. So we're going to do that. So that means our capture group is literally going to be any character between the name tags, and we want to close it, so we are going to do slash name. And now here we search for the whole pattern in the whole buffer or file. And what we can do with this information is now we can use the capture group we define our pattern in our replace. So in this case, we are going to do name because that's your key, and we are going to do /1. /1 is going to be the first capture group we define, and since it was everything between the two tags, we're just going to get the actual name we want, and we're going to do that. And there we go. This is definitely starting to look like more like a JSON document object. Except I forgot one thing, and that one thing is the comma. So if we run it again, here we can see that we do have the format we would expect. Finally, we're going to also do this for instead of name, and we're going to do this for email. 2 words or email. So once we run this command, the whole thing should now be sorted out. Except I forgot one thing, and that is, I guess, if we want to actually make it more look like a JSON object, we could put a comma here, but it shouldn't matter. In this example, we successfully just kind of refactored this whole XML file to contain multiple JSON objects in I guess 5 commands. And this is what I'm just talking about when, like, once you get down to the basics, or once you see the pattern with Vim, you can just manipulate data however you want. So before I move on to my last and final example, I just want to talk about 2 other concepts, registers and macros, before I even move on. And I think that these are really fundamental techniques for data manipulation in Vim, because once you get these concepts down, that's where, like, the true power of Vim starts to shine through. So in case you don't know what a register is, you can basically think about it like a clipboard empty space. So whenever you do like Control-C in a browser, you're copying some text and then gonna retrieve it later, or paste it later with Control-V. And in this case, or even if you don't know what I just said, I'm just going to tell you that you have been using registers in Vim. And you've been explicitly using the unnamed register. So whenever you do something like, here I just typed in hello, and if I do something like yank word, and then I do P, I'm actually retrieving data from the unnamed register and pasting it into my buffer. So just to be more clear, the unnamed register is the default register that Vim uses. And registers are actually, I guess, used by the quote command. And then whatever register you want to use. So as I said before, you are always using the unnamed register in a lot of things. So in case you are confused about why some people like to specifically say that D doesn't actually, the operator D doesn't actually mean delete, it's because you are actually cutting. So when you do delete word, you are actually cutting the whole word into the unnamed register. So in this case, right, so I did say that you can use any register and with the quote command. So in this case, we can do something like quote and then P, which is going to paste the content of the unnamed register into our buffer. And since it's default, you can just use P. But yeah, more specifically, if you ever just want to use the unnamed register, you can just do double quotes and then P to paste, or which is equal to just P, since it is the default. But this is just a basic example of everything you're using. But there are more registers, and if you ever just want to look at which ones there are, you can just type in :register, and then you will see every register that's available or that you've used recently. For example, the unnamed register is hello. Here we go, just like that. So the cool thing about registers is that they can be used to, I guess, like I said, always just, I guess, delete some sort of text and then use it later for more useful purposes. So what I mean by this is if I do something like delete at and use register A and delete a word into register A, and then I can go here and type some whatever here, and then I can do something like at a P. And this might not seem useful now with my example, but I promise you I'll give you just a better example later on. For now, it's just basics. There are also some other registers that I just want to highlight because I think they are important. So I will go to a file that I made. This is the Python script I made from. Well, using this Python script, I did make those random emails that you saw in the first example. And there are some special registers that I do want to highlight quickly. So the first one is just the percent buffer, or the percent buffer, which actually the percent, as I said before, represents the file name. So if you ever just want to get the file name quickly, you can do something like quote percent and then P, and then here you can see that it's my file name and it pasted it correctly. Also, if you have another this is my first example, so if you ever have an alternate buffer, you can do something like quote hashtag P, and that'll give you the alternate buffer. But now, the one I really want to highlight, which a lot of people don't really know about, is the expression register. So if you do something like quote equals, you can see that you get a bit of prompt here. And if you do something like 10 plus, so with the expression register, you can do a lot of things. You can evaluate Vim functions, or you can do something stupid like evaluating what this 10 plus 10 is. And once we do enter, we can do paste, and we get 20 here. And this is very nice because, like I did say, you can do some pretty crazy stuff. You can do evaluate Vim functions. So if I ever want to get the time, I can use something like strf time and then paste it, and I realized I didn't call any arguments, so let me str time, and I think the arguments can be like something like percent y, percent day, which is like the year and then the day. And that is basically how one of the ways you can evaluate Vin functions. So that's a basic overview of what registers are. I tried my best to explain just the unnamed registers and like some special registers, but in case you ever just have questions, you can just always ask in the script in the comments, and I will answer back as soon as possible. But other than that, let's move on to macros. And macros are like used for like if you ever just have like some sort of pattern you see in text, and you just want to record or like refactor some sort of pattern, and you're always going to use that. That's the way you're always going to do it. You can record a macro to, I guess, specify a repeated complex set of motions. So, for example, I think this is kind of similar to like the dot operator, where if you do something like I don't know, like that, you can do like delete word, right? And then you can do delete word. But since you're always going to be like, in this case, we're always going to be deleting word, we can just do the hit dot operator, and it'll do the same. It'll just do like the last executed command. In a similar way, macros work like this, where we just we define like a pattern, or like I guess a macro. We define a macro, and then we execute that macro on the pattern we want to refactor. We want to change. And it's the same. And the macro is always going to define. The macro is always going to behave the same way every time. So a macro is used like or recorded by Q and then a register, not the at. I just wanted to like specify like that's a register. So it would be like Q and then a like QA, and it will say like recording at register A. So that's how you define and record a macro. So let's just put everything I just said into use, and hopefully you get a good idea of what I'm saying. Alright, for my last example, I here have a file called aur.html, where every line in this file contains a package, and it contains a version of package. And basically what I want to do is create a very, very basic website or web page that literally just has a bunch of anchor tags that when clicked on will redirect to a DuckDuckGo search of the package. I don't know why, I just think it's a really cool example, a really nice example to learn and use macros from. So let's just do it. So I already have a file called template.html that basically contains that basically contains the very basic HTML. And basically what we're going to hear is for every line here we're going to have an anchor tag that we will insert into this body. So let's just read the I guess the template. And so I already wrote an example just to like show what I'm gonna do. So for every package name, I'm basically gonna just replace in the query of the DuckDuckGo search the name of the package, and inside the tag I will just leave the package as it is, just to have like the acronym. So using macros, we're gonna do this because I see a pattern and I think I can do this. So I'm gonna do at R. I'm gonna record a macro at register R, and what we're gonna do first, or what I would do first, is just gonna copy the first section of this of the package name, because I think it will be easier to do it like that. And so let's just do it. So I'm going to do at a yank till space. I did space instead of like word because just giving the format, it seems a little more safe in the format of this document. So now that I've done that, I'm going to do I, and then I'm going to start the anchor tag. href, it's equal to https at : duckduckgo.com / is a question mark, and then Q is equal. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but if you're ever in insert mode and you just want to paste in the contents of a register, you can do a Command R, Control R, and then the register you want to look at. In this case, A. So now that we've done that, it pastes it in just like the contents of a register. Now we can close the quotes and then close the anchor tag here. Go back to normal mode and then finish it off. And there we go. And then finally, we want to go back to the beginning of the line and go down a line in case we ever just want to repeat the pattern over again. So we basically there recorded a pattern, and it was a very generalized pattern that should work once we end the macro. And to test that it works, we're going to do add R, and there we go. It looks like it works now. So that is like the and now if we do like something like add R 100 R, it should successfully convert the whole document in one soup. And now basically I'm just gonna delete this and delete this and then paste it in here. Boop boop. And there we go. We basically created a very basic website just using macros, and this, I guess, like this will always work. So even if we do at the start, or want to like specifically do this one, the macro will always work because it was very general. And yeah, boop boop. So yeah, that was just like a very nice example of explaining how macros works, I think. And seeing the powers of macros, just as you can see here, definitely very efficient rather than just like doing this one at a time and going back to the start of a line and then just doing all these things. So just to end it off, I will show you one more thing, which I think it's pretty cool. So I think this features only if you have the GVim, but if you do have GVim, basically what you can do is do something like this. It doesn't. You can do something like, I think it's to HTML to HTML. And what it does is basically use your color scheme, and it doesn't actually create like the website itself, but it just gives you. I'll show you what it does. So once we save this, right, and I'm just gonna save this to instead of like example.html, so it's my HTML, so it's much easier. I think I saved it. This is wrong with me. And we are gonna overwrite this. But once we do this, right, and now if we open sample.html, and I already have a macro defined for this, but basically I'm just going to open it here. And I know it looks pretty bad in my thing, but it's just really cool because basically with this command you can just have like a document that has all your line numbers and the code you have. And I just think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So just to see that this works, we can also, like the actual thing works, we can actually load this thing up and see here. There you go. And with DuckDuckGo, because it's so simple, it works. So this is the end of the video, and I just wanted to reiterate some points. So Vim is a wonderful tool, but I still think there are some better tools sometimes, and this is why I want to specify that, like, the name of the title, I guess, of this video should be that Vim should be a backup tool for data wrangling, but it shouldn't always be your main tool. There are better tools sometimes for doing the things I've done. For example, I'm pretty sure, for example, number 2, you could have done it just using sed, or maybe just using awk. There's so many tools like for data that exist for data manipulation that if you know these tools, you should perhaps think of it as your first tool to even try like a problem out. But as I said, Vim should be your backup tool because like, as long as you see the pattern, as long as you just know generally how to do it. With Vim, you can just pretty much record macro, just, I don't know, substitute something, and then you're good. You're glad. You can do this so quickly. You can impress your friends. But again, maybe it should just be your backup tool. There are some tools that are just better for the job. And I recorded this using, I recorded this during, Christmas and like Christmas Eve. So I just want to say happy holidays to anyone who celebrates it. Um, and I guess perhaps subscribe to my channel if you found this video interesting, or just give me feedback in general. Anyway, thank you. Have a nice day.